So yesterday was a tragic event for everyone. My heart goes out to the families. I think all of us spent the night looking and reading comments and trying to see what went on. There's a couple things that we do know. The fire investigators wrapped up their investigation last night. The cause has been undetermined because it's pending test results coming back. So we want to make sure we have all the information before we make a statement. The things that we do know is that the fire started on the first floor in the living quarters, and it proceeded upstairs to the second floor. In discussions with the mother, we know that she went upstairs to notify people. Smoke alarm was working at that time. She grabbed one of the kids, came downstairs. She believed that the rest were following her, and when she got outside, they were not. We did find the 4 children and the aunt in the second floor bathroom, huddled together. So that's what we know right now. Investigators, again, it's a scientific process you have to go through to determine and get all your test results back. We have not got all our test results back, so the fire is now considered undetermined until we get all the test results back.
Chief, is there any reason to suspect some sort of foul play, some sort of intention?
At this time, we believe that this was a tragic event.
In other words, an accidental fire, not arson.
Undetermined until we get the results back, but the information we have, we believe that it is just a tragic event.
Any timetable on those test results?
No, we do not control that. We've sent them to the lab. We will be waiting for those to come back.
Can we go over again particulars of the fire response? There's
Yes.
certainly a lot of criticism out there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go through the timeline again and go through it now with maybe fresh eyes as to what your investigation of the response has shown?
In looking over the information last night again, we know that the call came in at 2:04. The first unit,
I'm sorry,
10:04. We know that the first unit started response at 10:06. They arrived on scene at 10:09. That would be Engine 18. Engine 18 is a company that had a problem with taking their apparatus from driving mode to pump mode. So they had a problem with their apparatus. The second unit on scene arrived at 10:11. And then we had 2 additional units that arrived at 10:12. What they reported upon their arrival is they saw heavy black smoke and flames coming from the unit upon arrival.
Can you talk about whether or not firefighters can go into fully engulfed buildings? Was there some sort of changeover during the Pang fire years ago?
There is no changeover in how firefighters enter a burning structure. Let me kind of give you a little background. Firefighters enter a structure, they have to have water with them. Having flames and fire on the first floor, they cannot proceed to the second floor until they have got that fire out, because if you don't put that fire out, when you get upstairs, you'll have fire follow behind you and burn you and your hose and remove your escape route also. So they have to extinguish the fire on the first floor prior to moving to the second floor. They needed to be able to control what they had in front of them before they could go up the stairs to do that. They traditionally, and I would assume it happened this time, is there's a company that went on the first floor, started trying to put the fire out. Second company tried to fight their way up the stairs. But remember, we're dealing with flames and heat and everything else, and you're trying to overcome that at the same time. You know, the firefighters had the report that there were people on the second floor. So they are trying to get up there, but you have to be able to control your environment at the same time.
And of course, they didn't have water.
When you enter the unit, you have water. They will not go in without water. So we're talking about when the second unit got there at 10:11, they are now entering the unit and they are putting water on the fire.
So the unit arrived at 10:11. Did they enter the unit at 10:11? In other words, when did they have, how long?
I cannot tell you the exact time because we do not have a radio report that says I'm entering the fire. What we do know is that on their arrival, that Engine 18 that arrived at 10:09 already had their gear on, they had their hose laid, they just took their hose connection from Engine 18, put it on, I believe it was Engine 8, and then he put it in pump. Again, they carry 500 gallons of water on the apparatus. They do not need to immediately connect to a fire hydrant. And that allows them to be able to use that water while the driver goes and gets additional water. So it's pretty quick in what they call a quick attack on a fire. So it's pretty quick in being able to do that. They will enter the structure. You now have two teams there. It allows one team to be able to fight the fire and make sure it doesn't crawl back up those that are going to the second floor. Well, there was definitely a delay in firefighters being able to get there. I think in looking at the pictures and what we saw and listening to the comments is that there was a tremendous amount of fire and smoke prior to the fire department's arrival, which again makes it pretty hard to sustain life in that type of heated environment.
Is it fair for people then to jump to a conclusion that if there weren't problems with the truck and water could have gotten there more quickly, that maybe some of those folks could have been saved? Is that fair for people to go to that place?
Again, it is. I think people have to. People will make assumptions. And for me to say yay or nay is like we're being defensive about the situation. I think what we know is that we had a problem with our apparatus. We also know there was heavy smoke and fire damage going on, which is hard to sustain life. Could we have had a bigger impact in getting in there? Without the delay, we would have got the first unit in there a lot sooner. They would have spent their time on the first floor trying to get that fire out before they could get upstairs. That's what we do know.
So there was a transmission problem. Was it a switch that changes the transmission to the pump?
Yes, it's called a PTO, a power takeoff. You switch it from road gear into pumping gear to be able to use that power to be able to get your corrected engine pressure to be able to get the water pressure.
So was it a switch failure? Because you said it worked fine earlier in the day.
It did work fine early in the day. I cannot answer that directly for you. We had that apparatus towed to our shop so that we are going to allow the shop to be able to look at that and determine what they see. So we will take a look at that next week.
Time.
Well, there is not a manual override for it. If you're unable to, it's kind of like if your transmission goes out, you can't make your car go any move because you can't get it in gear and it's not working. The same thing happens here. You cannot get the pump pressure up to be able to have the correct pressure to be able to squirt water out. So that is why, again, we do a lot of things in redundancy because things do happen. From broken hose lines to pumps not working to chainsaws not working. All this happens to us on a regular basis, even if we check it and something happens. So we do what we call redundancy backup for everybody to make sure if something happens, we're prepared for that type of thing. In this case, something did happen. The second unit came in, they did what they were supposed to do, and we continued to fight the fire. Very, very tragic event for everybody. The firefighters again are beating themselves up, thinking, could I have done more of what's going on? This is, like I said, our hearts go out to the ones that lost their loved ones. We recognize there's an impact on the community, recognize there's an impact on our firefighters. We will be doing a follow-up with the community, very similar to what we did at the Green Lake Plaza in the upcoming. They reacted, they ran into a problem, they reacted to the problem. So that's what we do know right now. What we want to know is, was that rig, what was the problem with the transmission? We'll do the follow-up on that.
Has this happened before on that particular rig?
I'm not familiar with that, but again, we will be pulling the records on Monday morning with the shop, taking a look to find out was there a problem with that, but to date I do not know that.
Engine 9 we heard was on Stoneway at the time at a non-emergency response. Could this have helped had Engine 9 been taken off that non-emergency call?
Well, Engine 9 was on medical response. We traditionally backfill for companies because they're going to be pulled at different times to different areas. Engine 18 is the second unit in there. They came in and we did that. That's kind of how. So if we're at your house and we're taking care of you, we're not going to pull you out and say, hey, you need to go here. We backfill with another unit. That's kind of how we did it this time also.